Hey everyone, this is Faith. Honestly, I'd like to address the video the Harbinger of the Harvest made that addresses the letter that Chanel wrote, because I do not believe that was false prophecy, and I will explain why soon. Anyway, let's get into that.
If you just happen to stumble across this video and you haven't already seen the channel's introductory video, then this video probably won't make much sense to you. That video is titled The Mean People. I will include a link to that video in the description box. Okay, so again, I have taken this email sent on March 2nd of 2019 and copied it into a Word document so that I can alter parts of the email addresses and highlight the parts of the message I want to focus on. You can see from the email header that this email was sent from Chanel and it was addressed to Brant and Nina. In this video, we are going to look at only 3 statements from this letter. There simply isn't any reason to look at anything else. You see, there is a statement in this letter that simply isn't true. Jesus never lies, and Jesus is never wrong.
I am in complete agreement that Jesus never lies and Jesus is never wrong. There's no disagreement there at all. However, if you skip anything that is spiritual and only look for the physical, then you will only see a lie here. But again, I'll let you state your piece, Ernie.
Therefore, it simply isn't possible that Jesus told Chanel to write these statements down. This is unequivocal proof that Chanel is channeling a deceptive spirit. So, let's get right to it. I'm just going to go directly to those statements. Well, if I can get it to scroll, I will. Let's see. Okay, right here. So here are those statements, the ones I have highlighted. Together you are stronger, Brant, Chanel, Nina. As my 2 witnesses have an unbreakable bond, so too is the bond of the 3 of you.
Harbinger. When you look at this, you only look at the flesh. The flesh, Nina's flesh, messed up here, yes. That does not mean that she did messed up in spirit. If you take a look at the spiritual side of things, you will see that in spirit, Nina actually didn't mess up nearly as bad as you think. We are told in scripture multiple times to walk in spirit, not in the flesh, yet here you are about to insist upon a fleshly interpretation.
So right here in this message, the entity is telling them that the 3 of them have an unbreakable bond. This is a patently false statement.
Ernie, you are still again looking only at things through the eyes of the flesh and insisting that only the flesh can be right. You're not taking the spiritual side of things into account whatsoever, but you are asking everybody to only look at this letter through the eyes of the flesh. You are claiming that it is a false prophecy that Nina and Brant have this unbreakable bond, but in spirit they do have an unbreakable bond. It is my opinion that the bond between Chanel, Brant, and Nina that is unbreakable spiritually. Looking at the flesh that's messed up does not change a single thing about that.
There has been no bond between the 3 of them for over 3 years.
That is true. From a physical standpoint, you are right. Again, you're still not looking at the spiritual standpoint of anything, and you're asking everybody else to ignore the spiritual standpoint of it all as well.
Again, Jesus never lies, and Jesus is never wrong. All you have to do is listen to their videos. Several times Chanel has talked about how Nina has betrayed her and how hurtful that betrayal has been to her. Unbreakable bonds do not end in betrayal.
Well, that really depends on how you're looking at the bond. If you're looking at it as a spiritual bond instead of a physical one, then yeah, from the physical standpoint, it could end in betrayal because the flesh tends to mess up frequently, in case you haven't noticed. The flesh and spirit are often against each other according to scripture. We know this, Ernie. I think you know that as well. But for some reason you are ignoring that in order to defend your view.
People who have an unbreakable bond with the person do not go around making video after video telling all the world that a person with whom they share an unbreakable bond has betrayed them. Furthermore, Chanel tells us that the five of us, the mean people, have to seek forgiveness from them. This includes Nina.
According to the book of Galatians 5:16-18, then I say, walk in spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary to one another, so that ye cannot do the same things that ye would. And if ye be led by the Spirit, ye are not under the law. What this means is that the flesh and the spirit are commonly contrary to one another. So, even if Nina in spirit did not mess up, her flesh sure did. You can't keep looking at things through a fleshly lens and insist upon the flesh. That is not the way this is done. You have to take the spiritual side into account too, instead of pretending like the spiritual side of things is not there and only insisting that only the flesh could possibly be the truth, when it is not.
Who demands that a person with whom they share an unbreakable bond must seek their forgiveness? If it were truly an unbreakable bond, you would just forgive that person.
She did forgive Nina. That doesn't make Nina's actions right. It doesn't mean that responsibility for action should go out the window. That doesn't mean that what Nina did was necessarily acceptable either. But that was just her flesh doing it. In spirit, she did not mess up nearly as badly. I think, again, that needs to be looked at, instead of just shoving that to the side and pretending like it's not there when it is.
And not publicly demand that they must apologize to you. You would also not go around publicly berating that person. These are acts of contempt. Contempt has no place within an unbreakable bond.
Harbinger, all Chanel has ever asked was for the problem to get fixed, and you just avoided trying to fix the issue, and instead you've just continued on allowing the issue to go unsolved, undealt with, unresolved. All wanted to ever do was fix this mess, and you refused to fix it. You refused to help fix it, and you tried to help bury it under the rug. If asking someone to fix a mess that they helped create is an act of contempt, I think that you generally are confused about what contempt actually genuinely is. If you think that asking for a mess to be fixed up is contempt, because it's not. You should have been helping fix up that mess, and you refused multiple times.
I will also add that the two of them haven't spoke to each other in over 3 years, and Nina wants nothing to do with her.
In the flesh, what you have just stated is true. But is it true from a spiritual standpoint? In spirit, is this also the case? Or does perhaps Nina's spirit desire to still remain friends with Chanel, but her flesh struggles to follow?
Whatever bond they once shared has been completely destroyed.
In the flesh, this is true. In the spirit, it may not be. Again, you keep ignoring the spiritual side of it and only look to the flesh for what is true and what is not. It is too simplistic, and I think we both know that, Ernie.
As my two witnesses have an unbreakable bond, so too is the bond of the three of you. The bond between the three of them has been broken. In fact, it has been broken for over 3 years. Jesus doesn't lie, and Jesus is never wrong. Jesus did not give this message to Chanel.
Ernie, your simplistic, fleshly-minded interpretation of the letter does not make the letter wrong. It just means you're misinterpreting it. You still aren't looking at things from a spiritual standpoint. If you did, you would see that Nina and Chanel, in spirit, are in fact still friends. But I'm not sure that you're spiritually aware enough to check that for yourself. Because if you check this spiritually, I can guarantee you'll find the same thing. In spirit, Nina and Chanel are in fact still friends. If you aren't spiritually aware enough to check, fine, but don't run around claiming that your fleshly minded interpretation is the only correct one, and that therefore the letter is false. Because no, it is not. The fleshly interpretation is incorrect. Look in spirit, not in flesh, and you will see Nina and Chanel still hanging out spiritually.
Chanel is channeling a deceiving spirit.
Chanel has never once channeled any spirit and has stated on multiple occasions that when Jesus talks to her, it is in general at random times and she's not actively trying to do anything of the sort that you were accusing her of. So, with that in mind, stop claiming that she is channeling anything, on purpose at least. Because that is only... That's such a lie. It really is.
Please do not let yourself be pulled into this deception with them. If you are a person who has been following the two of them, I beg you to take all of this to Father God in prayer.
I have. And I came to whatever conclusion that you did, Harbinger. You came to a conclusion that what you see in the flesh is all that there is. I came to a conclusion that there is something more spiritually going on that you aren't seeing, and for whatever reason you are blind to it.
Ask Him to give you the discernment to distinguish between that which is true and that which is not.
Harbinger, I did that. And from what I can see, Jane lied, and everybody protects her for lying about everything. And you've been a hypocrite when it comes to numbers. So, Harbinger of the Harvest. I find it quite interesting what you say here. But with that said, I will give you a couple of options to dig your way out of your own grave here. Option number 1. Make a video giving details on why you think it's acceptable Jane lied to everybody in a truth community, and acknowledge that the Mandela effect is not about a love of the truth whatsoever. Or option B. Make a video stating that you understand that Jane lied and that was wrong. While you are at that, I expect you to help clean up the mess that was created. Why the fact that Jane lied help clean up the lies in the truth community. If you do not, if you cannot be that intellectually honest with yourself and everybody else, then you have no love of the truth, and you shouldn't be up here trying to expose Chanel and Brandt, when the fact of the matter is, Jane lied in a truth community, and that goes undealt with, and you refuse to deal with it, and you outright claim that that's contempt for her to ask for it to be dealt with. That is so sad and ridiculous, Harbinger. I think we both know this. I think you don't want to be honest. I don't think you're gonna come clean. I don't think you're gonna be intellectually honest here in this situation at all. But, come on, prove me wrong. I'd like to be proven wrong, Harbinger. But if you choose to continue down your path of dishonesty, then you have no right to continue on with this whole charade of leaking letters. But the fact of the matter is, Jesus never wanted those letters to be leaked in the first place. I also, in general, find it quite interesting that you keep turning the blame over onto Chanel for what you guys are doing. You guys state that Chanel is the one doing all these nasty, horrible things, that they're lying about you guys and saying bad things about you, but in reality, Chanel keeps providing evidence for the things she has said. Honestly, it's like ignoring evidence in this community has become a thing. It's like deflecting all of your own actions onto Chanel is apparently acceptable behavior now in this community. Because you guys continue to deflect your poor behavior onto Chanel and Brandt. Meanwhile, you guys are doing all the various things that you keep accusing Chanel and Brandt of doing. How is that even acceptable? I'm gonna tell it to everybody straight. The leaders in this community are a bunch of hypocrites, and they need to stop hounding Chanel and Brandt the way that they do. Making space. You're a hypocrite. Jane, you lied to everybody. Harbinger of the harvest. You used numbers in order to shun Chanel for using numbers. What the heck? I wish this was all some type of joke, but I'm gonna say it like it is. The leaders in this community are leading everybody in the wrong direction. And everybody just goes along with it like a blind little sheep. Take off the blindfold and wake up to see who you are following. Who you are following. They're the wrong people. Jane never should have lied. Harbinger should not have been using numbers if everybody's gonna let him off the hook for using numbers. Meanwhile, they're gonna villainize Chanel for it. They keep claiming that Chanel is the one who channeled a deceiving spirit. Meanwhile, Jane sent a very interesting email that she claims was from God, but none of it, what was in that email, sounded even remotely like him. Tell me, who is the actual channeler here? Chanel or perhaps Jane? I'm tired of all this crud. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna tell the truth. The leaders in this community are in the wrong, and they need to come clean. EYA needs to acknowledge that Jane lied on her channel, because that is proven. Making Space called Chanel a cult leader, but he acts more like a cult leader than she ever did. I'm tired of trying to sugarcoat everything in here for these videos. I'm sick of it. I'm gonna tell it to you straight. Leaders in this community need to stop being the ones who lead. They're in the wrong. They're hypocrites and liars. And yet they get trusted. I am just so sick of that. They keep trusting the wrong people. Liars and slanderers are in charge of the Mandela Effect community in the Christian half. And that needs to come to an end. I'm tired of watching people just blindly follow them, regardless of any evidence that there is against them. Meanwhile, Chanel and Brandt continue to get punished because things that the leaders of the community do continue to get deflected onto them. I am also sick of the fact that on top of lying and stealing, they are choosing to leak those stolen letters. They keep trying to justify their own sins. Will they claim Chanel and Brand are the ones sinning? Take the log out of your own eye before going after any perceived speck in the eyes of another. Those are words from Jesus. If you don't like them, take it up with Jesus. He's the one who taught it. Is there a reason in a Christian community it should be liars, slanderers, those who bear false witness, and those who steal who should be the ones in charge? Can someone explain to me why we have to keep putting up with the fact that our leaders are liars and thieves, and they continue to do things that go against Jesus in his very name? Do you think Jesus appreciates that? I can guarantee you the lying in his name and leaking stolen letters in his name is not something he appreciates. The Bible will spell that all out for us. Yet somehow this community just doesn't understand any of that. I don't understand why. We keep saying the scriptures are important to us, then we're upset the scriptures are changing. Yet we can't even be bothered to continue to listen to the unchanged scriptures. Is this genuinely the way we want to have a truth community be? Or should we actually do something about it and clean up all the messes that were created? We should have no more of this sweeping everything underneath the rug thing. We need to actually take responsibility for what happened and clean it up. No more sweeping it under the rug. No more pretending like it didn't happen. No more pretending like public matters are private. Fix it. Fix it. Fix it. Everybody needs to clean up the mess. It is time to clean that up and start climbing spiritual Mount Zion instead of continuing to make excuses for why we can't. No more excuses for why we can't clean up our mess and climb Mount Zion. It's time to clean it all up and climb the mountain. It's time to stop blaming Chanel and Brandt for what our leaders have been doing as well. Stop deflecting that onto them. That is wrong. Instead of trying to make out the mess to be entirely Chanel and Brandt's fault, meanwhile everybody else involved just gets off scot-free, hold everybody involved accountable. As everybody involved is accountable for any actions that they took. And from what I can see, Chanel and Brandt didn't really do much of anything wrong other than reveal certain letters to Nina that Nina apparently couldn't be bothered with keeping a secret. Literally, that is all that they did, and they asked Nina to keep those letters a secret, and her flesh betrayed them. I don't think that in spirit she ever intended to, but her flesh messed up big time. Anyway, I will see everybody in the next video. Thank you for watching.